It's time for Saint Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up.
Hello and welcome to Saint Lucia Magazine, our monthly segment of reviewing developments in government across various sectors of healthcare, education, the economy, infrastructure, and social welfare. I am Kendall Eugene. Over the past month, the government has been working tirelessly to bring about positive change and progress for the citizens. Our comms team and the comms units of ministries in the public service have been gathering stories and highlights of the government's initiatives and projects. We are excited to share them with you. This is Saint Lucia Magazine. In the presentation of the estimates 2023-2024, Prime Minister of Saint Lucia, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, pledged increased support to the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force to assist in alleviating crime and violence in Saint Lucia. In our big story, the government has provided a fleet of new vehicles to police amidst a rise in violent crime. The vehicles are part of the strategy to enable the police force to respond more quickly and effectively to incidents of crime. The rise in violent crime has been a major concern for both citizens and law enforcement agencies, with many calling for resources to be provided to the police force. Now, ensuring the safety and security of all citizens by enhancing police capacity to combat crime is a top priority for government.
Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, continues to facilitate strategic investments in the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. Additional ground assets, including bicycles and motor vehicles, were officially handed over to the High Command of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force.
I pledged to give the police all the resources that the country's fiscal position can afford at the time. Yesterday, in the Parliament, I disclosed that $117 million will be spent next year on the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. The details of that expenditure will be outlined in the policy speech on the last Tuesday in April. So today is just the first installment of resources that the police will get. And I can assure you, the police will get the necessary resources needed.
In under 2 years, the Prime Minister and Minister for National Security has allocated millions of dollars to bolster the tactical and operational capacity of St. Lucia's Chief Security Agency. Commissioner of Police, Crusita Descartes-Pellius, formally accepted the Prime Minister's latest offering that will further strengthen mobile patrols and also improve police response times.
This will be used to assist us in our crime-fighting strategies. In as much as we are happy to have these to assist in our crime-fighting strategies, these can also be used, especially the truck, as in times of disaster. So I'm indeed very grateful, and I would like to thank the Honourable Prime Minister for continuing in supporting us.
Dozens of land patrol units have been handed over to the police force since July 2021. The training vote has been replenished, which will allow law enforcement officers to regain access to crucial capacity building training programs. Prime Minister Pierre has billed the 2023-2024 fiscal year as the Year of National Security. 177.1 million EC dollars has been allocated toward the national security budget. More than 35 million EC dollars has been committed to erecting new physical infrastructure for administrative purposes. Construction of the Northern Divisional Headquarters in Grosley, a project delayed by more than 5 years, and the reconstruction of the Vieux-Fort police station are both scheduled to commence in 2023. From the office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
In another of our big stories, Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre has successfully arrested the economic spiral from the sharpest GDP decline in the Latin America and Caribbean region in 2020-2021 to consecutive years of double-digit growth projections in under 2 years. And for the first time since 2018-2019, there is a primary surplus on the books. Strategic fiscal policy prescriptions implemented by Prime Minister Pierre are bearing fruit.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre and his cabinet of ministers secured control of the government of Saint Lucia amidst global economic instability. Inflation reached record highs. Supply chain bottlenecks spiked consumer prices, and the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic depleted government revenue. The ongoing Russian conflict in Ukraine continue to affect grain and wheat exports, which also contributes to higher retail prices of bread and other flour-based products. Domestically, St. Lucia's economy experienced the sharpest decline in the entire Latin America and Caribbean region. St. Lucia's fiscal deficit, which is an important indicator of a country's ability to service its debt, for consecutive financial years from 2020 to 2022 mushroomed to more than 300 million EC dollars.
St. Lucia's economy had already begun to show signs downside risk before COVID. So when COVID struck, it took us over the board. But during COVID, we borrowed over $300 million. But that $300 million, Mr. Speaker, less than $20 million of these dollars were used for direct support to people. The direct support came from the NIC. That's where the direct support came, from the NIC, Mr. Speaker. And we've pledged at some point when the time is right to pay the NIC people back the money. That is where it came from, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, during that time, what did the government do? They were busy doing DFCs for elections. They were busy doing roads for election time, Mr. Speaker. So that $300 million that they borrowed, because of the weakness of the economy at that time, they had to take it to pay salaries, and that is what manifests itself in the figures that we inherited.
To return St. Lucia to a path of fiscal and economic stability, Prime Minister Pierre employed strategic policy measures that redirected millions of dollars back into the local economy to shield consumers from the full effects of inflation and also position the economy to experience buoyant GDP expansion in under 2 years. The evidence of the Prime Minister's efficient management of St. Lucia's economy can be found in the 2023-2024 estimates of revenue and expenditure. For the first time since fiscal year 2018-2019, the government of St. Lucia is projected to accrue an EC $29.6 million primary surplus.
So what they inherited was a platform of sustainability, a platform that we could move on from. And by 2019, before COVID, we already were in deficit, current balance deficit of $43 million before COVID hit. Before COVID hit. Before COVID, that's where we were. So you understand why we had problems? And right now, we've taken it from last year. We've taken it from, Mr. Speaker, when we got it, last year, we had anticipated that we would have in 2022-2023. When we took it in 21, our overall deficit was $224 million, and our primary deficit was $156 million. We took it from there and we brought it into 1 year to have a surplus of $29 million.
Since coming into office in 2021, St. Lucia has experienced consecutive years of GDP growth. Prime Minister Pierre has also successfully managed to reduce the deficit and implement policies which have inspired an increase in revenue collection for the government.
You're watching St. Lucia Magazine on the National Television Network. Stay with us.
I have my mobile, landline, cable TV, and internet service. If I have a problem with any of the services, what should I do?
Here's what you should do to resolve the problem. First, get and fill out a complaint form and lodge your complaint with the service provider. If after 30 days there is still no solution, you may contact your National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC.
This message is brought to you as a public service announcement by ECTEL, the NTRC, and this station.
Here is your recap as we look back at government and public sector developments. Prime Minister and Minister for Justice and National Security, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, anchored St. Lucia's participation in the CARICOM's Regional Symposium on Crime and Violence on April 17th. The Caribbean Community CARICOM Regional Symposium, Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge, brought heads of government from the region around the table on collaboration between criminal justice and public health systems to improve community safety and promote healthier outcomes for individuals and communities affected by crime. Prime Minister Pierre is chair of the Council for National Security and Law Enforcement, CONSUL. CONSUL is an organ of the CARICOM and is responsible for the formulation of regional security policies and coordination of measures to give effect to the policies. Now, Prime Minister Pierre's address to the symposium examined the scientifically proven benefits of integrating public health interventions in regional and domestic crime reduction policies.
Public health and public security share similar policy objectives, as they both aim to provide the maximum benefit for the most people. In considering the application of the public health approach to crime and violence in our region, there are a number of observations and questions to which we hope the symposium can provide answers. At the regional level, I see parallels between the role played by CARFA in a public health context and impacts. Therefore, I see a reformulated impacts that will adapt CARFA techniques to take the lead in the application of the regional public health approach to the prevention of crime and violence. A public health approach to public security will require huge investments in capacity building, both in terms of equipment and training of frontline personnel. Ideally, we will need a comprehensive assessment of the training needs for a whole of government and whole of society approach to crime prevention and control. We need a core of well-trained and resilient counselors and psychologists in our schools and communities who can handle the emotional stress of working with at-risk children and provide family therapy for young people at the risk of gang involvement and exploitation.
St. Lucia's strong historic ties with Guyana is expanding into tourism. Tourism officials are on course to exploring the Guyanese market in a vital expansion strategy as part of the industry's ongoing efforts to innovate and adapt to changing travel trends. The St. Lucia Tourism Authority, through its Carification brand and the partnership with the Guyanese Tourism Authority, welcomed a direct service between the two countries via British Airways. The regional market has long been part of the local tourism strategy, and Guyana is the latest addition.
St. Lucia welcomed the inaugural British Airways service from Guyana on March 27, 2023, just hours after it was introduced at the Cheddi Jagan International Airport in Guyana. The new service from London Gatwick is the only non-stop flight between Guyana and the UK via St. Lucia. Participating in the inaugural ceremony in Guyana was a 23-member delegation led by Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, comprising officials of the Ministry of Tourism, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, private sector tourism partners, and the trade and export sector.
This flight between Guyana and St. Lucia would help a lot in building that bond, that Caribbean unity, that Caribbean togetherness. But it would also help us as we welcome visitors from Guyana. We need to start thinking about multi-destination marketing. So you can come to Guyana, stay in Saint Lucia. You can come to Saint Lucia and come over to Guyana with the ease that this flight offers.
Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce in Guyana, Honorable Onesh Walrond, joined the delegation in St. Lucia on Monday night, signaling an important milestone for both countries with the cutting of the ribbon. Speaking at the welcome ceremony held at the IMJet Center, CEO of the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Lauren Charles St. Jules, expressed that this connection would build strong links between the countries, opening gateways for new opportunities and easier access to South America.
We are so honored tonight that we can start a partnership with Guyana. Back in February, we launched a sales mission where, along with a team here from St. Lucia, we went to Guyana to pre-sell the flight and to pre-sell what St. Lucia is about. So we are privileged that our minister, she's alone tonight, but we are privileged that she represents this huge country of Guyana and all the lovely people of Guyana. We see this as immense opportunity for St. Lucia to develop a partnership for travel, tourism, trade, education, friendship, between St. Lucia and Guyana.
Honorable Onesh Walrond noted that St. Lucia and Guyana would not only welcome visitors from the UK and add to the demand for regional travel, but would strengthen the partnership between the two countries.
The fact that we have so many Guyanese here, the diaspora, it brought me to thinking about our region, the Caribbean region, and the fact that we really are one. We really, the common thread of our culture, heritage, all ties in together. And when it comes to tourism and our tourism product, that is what this partnership is all about. Finding similarities, finding synergies, and marketing that to the rest of the world. So we're really not in competition, Guyana and St. Lucia, for our tourism product. This tremendous opportunity that British Airways has afforded us as a region. It has really opened Guyana, St. Lucia, but it has also opened the entire region to more opportunities. And that is the way that I believe our government, our administration would see this opportunity, that it opens opportunity for tourism to grow in both areas.
The new route between London and Guyana via St. Lucia will operate twice weekly on Mondays and Thursdays. With the demand for regional travel and destination St. Lucia, British Airways began servicing Tobago via St. Lucia on Tuesday, March 28, 2023. This new connection will provide travelers with convenient access to Tobago and promote tourism to both destinations.
St. Lucia's Constituency Development Program, CDP, has received an EC $18.5 million cash injection from the Republic of China, Taiwan. The island's 17 constituencies are poised to benefit from the Taiwanese disbursement, which will support government's efforts at meeting demands for socio-economic initiatives and development projects.
On April 11th, His Excellency Peter Chia Chen presented to the Cabinet of Ministers and invited guests the fruits of St. Lucia's labor from the table of diplomacy with an important development partner and enduring ally, the government and people of Taiwan.
And we are honored to be part of this vital development project with the St. Lucian government. 2 weeks ago, a Taiwan technical mission collaborated with the Ministry of Agriculture to hold the first farmers market this year in an arcade of Miku village, joined by Honorable Deputy Speaker Jeremiah Norbert. And the newly built arcade, funded by the Constituency Development Program, provided farmers with a well-functioning shelter to display their products, offering vendors and buyers a more comfortable place to support local produce.
Carefully managed diplomatic relations with Taiwan by the government of St. Lucia and the Ministry of External Affairs continue to yield mutually appreciated benefits that redound to the socio-economic development of St. Lucian citizens and also contribute to the development of the island's 17 constituencies.
And I want you to acknowledge the work of the Minister of External Affairs in this regard. because I really pushed him. Anything he came with, I said to him, go and get some more.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre continues to epitomize bipartisanship where state resources are concerned. The government leader has given assurances all 17 members of parliament will receive an equitable share of the CDP funds.
And not because they voted for another party, our democracy mandates us to allow them to survive. So that will continue, and allocations will be given to these constituencies so that their parliamentary reps can use it as they deem necessary. That also is important, as they deem necessary. Once I've given the allocations to the permanent secretary, I never asked how it was used, who got what, who gave what contract, and they can bear testimony to that.
Officials from the Office of the Accountant General collected the Taiwanese tranche on behalf of the Government of Saint Lucia. The Constituency Development Program empowers constituents and local government officials with the necessary resources to undertake community-level development programs, which, among many other benefits, also create employment opportunities as well as ensure community infrastructure is regularly maintained. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
The Government of Saint Lucia is on pace to ensure every secondary school student has ownership of a new laptop device. Taiwan continues to support Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre's one laptop per child policy and has delivered 5,000 new Chromebook devices, which will be distributed among the incoming first form secondary school students just in time for the commencement of the 2023-2024 academic year in September.
I just wanted to show off, you know what I mean?
In under 2 years, the Government of Saint Lucia, led by Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, is on course to furnish every secondary school student with a laptop device, an accomplishment never before attained until the commencement of Prime Minister Pierre and his cabinet's tenure in office.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure the students will look forward to the use of these Chromebooks, and I want to thank the Minister of External Affairs for being able to, as you would say, navigate through the waters of the diplomatic channels. And Minister of External Affairs, you'll be requested to do some more.
Thousands of laptop and Chromebook devices have already been distributed in the last 18 months. On April 11th, the government officially accepted another 5,000 new devices from Taiwan. The new tech is earmarked for distribution among the incoming first form secondary school students ahead of the commencement of the 2023-2024 academic year in September. Minister for Education, Honorable Sean Edward, has embraced Prime Minister Pierre's progressive one laptop per child policy and continues to inspire the ensuing integration of modern technology into St. Lucian classrooms.
When we took to the hustings leading up to the elections of 2021, we made a promise to the people of St. Lucia, and more specifically, the children of St. Lucia, those who were old enough to understand that we would reinstate the one laptop per child program. And today, here we are, another demonstration of that commitment, another manifesto pledge fulfilled.
The Republic of China on Taiwan continues to play an instrumental role in the government's reimagined classroom modernization and laptop initiative.
My government really support the one student, one computer program that promoted by Honorable Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre and the Government of Saint Lucia. So we are honored to be part of this program, to be able to donate 5,000 Chromebooks today.
The government's one laptop per child policy was the brainchild of former Prime Minister Dr. Honorable Kenny Anthony and initially introduced to St. Lucia's secondary school system between the years 2011 to 2016. The wisdom of Dr. Anthony's one laptop per child policy was underscored during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the Ministry of Education had to employ a distance learning concept to keep students engaged with their teachers during a time when public health measures restricted in-person learning to minimize COVID-19 infections. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
The Taiwanese government is undoubtedly earning a place in the hearts of St. Lucians. The people of St. Lucia are once again in line to benefit from the generosity of the Taiwanese government. The latest, an aid package to support mobility for the disabled and meet other healthcare needs.
The people of St. Lucia are once again in line to benefit from the generosity of the Taiwanese government. The latest aid package comes in the form of a gifted 20-foot container, this time containing health amenities. The much-needed supplies were on March 21, 2023, handed over jointly to officials of the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment and the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs. Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Equity, Irene Gasper, expressed sincere thanks to the Taiwanese government for the timely supplies and stated that the donation would assist the ministry in further assisting the most vulnerable and differently abled in society.
We recognize that today's gesture by the Taiwanese embassy is not only of value to this country, but greatly complements the current efforts of government and is very timely. Today's donation will enable both the Ministry of Equity and Health to respond to some of the needs of those living with disability in a much more sustainable manner.
Taiwanese Ambassador to St. Lucia, His Excellency Peter Chan, stressed the significance of the donation, noting that it symbolizes Taiwan's continued commitment to the collaboration and the partnership between the two governments and their people.
On behalf of the Government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and Taiwanese NGO Cao Zhongzi Foundation, I'm extremely happy and honored to hand over 465 items of assistance devices, including wheelchairs, steel folding commode chairs, and single-armed walkers. This donation not only demonstrates the continuous support of Taiwan government, but also conveys the love and cares from the people and civil society of Taiwan.
Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, Honorable Mohija Baptiste, conveyed his thanks and gratitude on behalf of the Government of St. Lucia for the kind and significant gesture.
I'm very happy to be here this morning to represent the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs and the Government of St. Lucia to say thanks to the people of Taiwan and thanks to Ambassador Chen and his whole team for working with us on this donation. Indeed, 465 items is a significant donation. Significant not only because they are needed, but because this donation targets the most vulnerable.
In 2014, the Ministry of Equity implemented a disability grant program targeting children with disabilities up to the age of 21. From the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, Chevroy Marius.
When we come back, the inaugural St. Lucia Tourism Awards, the Jimmies, the first of its kind, where St. Lucia celebrates outstanding stakeholders in the industry.
Did you know that Millennium Heights Medical Complex offers the widest range of medical services in the country? Millennium Heights Medical Complex provides an array of options from our 3 institutions to cater to physical and mental illness. We aim to provide quality, comprehensive care to our patients. At Owen King AU Hospital, we offer services in internal medicine, surgery, anesthesia and intensive care, accident and emergency care, hemodialysis, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, neonatal intensive care, physiotherapy, diagnostic imaging, laboratory diagnostics, pharmacy, dietetics, oncology, and outpatient services. At National Mental Wellness Center, we offer occupational therapy, counseling, pharmacy, psychosocial services, 24-hour National Suicide Helpline, walk-in clinics, and outpatient services. At Turning Point Drug and Rehabilitation Center, we offer clinical evaluation, medical services, substance use counseling, substance use disorder assessment, medically supervised detoxification, addiction education, community education, recreational services, interventions, and outpatient services. Call MHMC at 458-6500 or 458-6700, or you could email information at mhmc.lc for more. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for updates at Millennium Heights Medical Complex and on Instagram at Millennium Heights Medical. To call the National Suicide Helpline, dial 203 free of charge.
Welcome back. Still with the recap. The national spotlight was on the outstanding tourism players when the St. Lucia Ministry of Tourism staged the Jimmies. The Tourism Awards honored invaluable contributions towards the island's global recognition as a leading Caribbean tourist destination. There are several awards and recognitions given to individuals and businesses within the tourism industry in St. Lucia, such as TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice Awards and the World Travel Awards. The Jimmies is a homegrown collaborative effort involving St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association, SLHTA, and the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, SLTA.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your pilot speaking, Captain Ernest Hilaire.
And tonight, we demonstrate that we can encourage excellence, innovation, quality, and sustainability by recognizing those who embody these values.
The Jimmy goes to Orlando's Restaurant and Bar. Awesome Caribbean weddings. Sandals Grand St. Lucian, Miss Bothia Paul. The Sufa Regional Development Foundation.
Hotel Chocolat.
Point and Simon. As we rethink tourism, we bring to you the Jimmies, our own St. Lucia Tourism Awards.
At last, we are rethinking tourism. I want to congratulate the Minister and the staff, the Permanent Secretary.
Look at me now and look at just how we conquered. Champion sounds and champions all around us.
The stage is set for St. Lucia Carnival 2023. Earlier this month, the Carnival Planning and Management Committee unveiled plans for this year's festivities at a media launch at the Sandals Grand St. Lucia Ballroom.
All fellas vexed with this one. I working hard all my life, cause I tell myself I want a wife. But no matter how I save, feel like she go put me in the grave.
I think for us, it will be the first full carnival since COVID. Last year, if you remember, when the whole idea of making sure we had carnival was going to be hosted, we thought of a vax mass and how the world has changed since. Because then we were frightened of even going out. And we eventually did have a carnival. But we didn't have some of the traditional features, the Junior Carnival, Junior Panorama, Junior Calypso, Commercial Calypso. We didn't have those things last year. Yet we had a fantastic mass last year. So this year we are moving towards having the full suite of events that we normally have for Carnival. So I think this year we look forward to restoring Carnival as we knew it in the past. We may still not have the Junior Panorama, but all the other events will be held. I'm really excited this year about the return of Junior Carnival. And I know the Carnival Bands Association and the Barry George will certainly keep out the support.
My friend link up with your friend, and your friend link up with my friend. At the end of the night again, all of we in there go be friends. Cause we come to party there, with all my people and there. Cause when anybody ready for carnival this year, put your hands in the air. Yeah, and then we be friend, we have it. Saint Lucia, and we not leave it till the party. Oh, I tell you that's how we get it on time in the bar. We don't give a damn. We drinking, we just, I tell with me, I drink with me, I friend to me, say carnival is it time.
Saint Lucian Carnival brand ambassadors. Again, it is a new feature and a new addition to Saint Lucia Carnival. And the brand ambassadors will utilize the social media platforms that they have grown and developed to support with the promotion of Saint Lucia Carnival. And now we announce our 8 Saint Lucia Carnival brand ambassadors. Anybody drinking a rude boy tonight? Let's hear it from Mr. Kuya Fire.
Position. 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 Bend over. Matela. Go down low. Beseba. We got the medicine and look at the women law.
All right, up next we have the energy god himself, Mr. Jagozile Ezra, the fun machine. Also, another St. Lucian Carnival brand ambassador is the legendary entertainer himself, Hollywood HP.
Oh God, I sing it again, I free up again.
Up next, we have international producer, singer, and songwriter, and he recently represented us at the Uber Soca Cruise. Let's hear it for the man, Moto.
Man, we ride, big ride, big ride, big ride.
Up next, we have the 22. He has 22 soca titles under his belt. It is none other than Ricky T.
Every day is one set of he say, she say, one set of he say, she say.
And of course, we also have the iconic man himself, deeper than soca. It's all about Sidale.
When we touch down inside the fence, we gon' fuck up people.
And of course, our international soca artists also representing on the Uber Soca Cruise. Let's hear it for Teddyson John.
Somebody say, la-bi-do.
And of course, we have the king of the Dennery segment himself. Let's hear it for Umpa.
PK.
Anale, now the sun la flat. Head via mute clap.
Come on, let's hear it for our 8 St. Lucian Carnival brand ambassadors.
Continuously monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of shock response social protection programs in St. Lucia was the subject of a workshop aimed at streamlining reference documents for interagency use in the delivery of programs for social protection. As we hear in this recap story, steps are being taken to increase efficiency, reduce errors and risks, and ensure consistency and quality of outputs. The expectation is for social protection programs to meet their intended goals and are making a positive impact on the lives of those they are designed to support.
Officials of the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment and their counterparts from the United Nations World Food Programme WFP continue to fine-tune protocols to improve the shock responsiveness of St. Lucia's social protection system. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting widespread social and economic displacement in its wake, the Ministry of Equity, as government's lead implementing agency for social assistance, with the input of stakeholders, has crafted standard operating procedures, SOPs, to be used by relevant government institutions in the delivery of social protection services to vulnerable and disadvantaged groups in particular, in the aftermath of disasters or shocks.
What we are doing here is to review protocols that we have developed that speaks to clear roles and responsibilities in terms of response. So we have a role for NEMO. NEMO is part of the forum here today. We have other agencies who are also part of that whole system. Identify what those roles are, at what point, what do we do, how do we do it, so that again, when you have that response, it is already established. We have rehearsed it, we have practiced it, and we can run seamlessly with it.
Rapid mobilization is critical for effective response post-exogenous shocks, and as such, the Ministry of Equity is examining a multiplicity of options for financing disaster risk response.
We want to ensure that we can, look at the modalities, look at the options, see what is feasible for St. Lucia, and put things in place so that once we trigger and we activate, we are able to access the resources that is required to support the response.
The World Food Programme has remained a consistent partner with the Ministry of Equity on several matters, including the area of disaster risk financing. Program Policy Officer and Country Representative Lilia Ramjawan says shock responsive social protection is better administered when key government agencies like Equity, NEMO, Budget and Finance all operate in unison.
Now that we're looking at shock responsive social protection, there is need to look at bringing those institutions together and looking at how we collaborate, coordinate, identify roles and responsibilities. Because without coordination among those different line ministries, you would find that the efforts to link disaster risk management and the social sector would be difficult and pose problems.
As part of a comprehensive reform process, the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment is well underway in conducting a review of St. Lucia's social protection system and examining how existing mechanisms can be made more robust in order to adapt and provide critical support in a timely manner once a shock occurs.
The National Utilities Regulatory Commission held a consultation on renewable energy, pricing and capacity limits as St. Lucia advances efforts to meet its nationally determined goal of 35% renewable energy penetration by 2025.
The National Utilities Regulatory Commission, NERC, is committed to renewable energy adoption in St. Lucia, particularly with the volatility of fossil fuel costs owing to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. On Thursday, 6 April, the NERC held a public consultation on renewable energy pricing and capacity limits, bringing stakeholders from the private and public sectors together with NGOs and civil society organizations. Chairman of the NERC, Lawrence Neve, stated that the NERC is resolute in St. Lucia achieving its nationally determined commitment of 35% renewable energy penetration by 2025.
We recognize that the transition to incorporating more renewable energy in the generation mix and the participation of non-traditional generators, including customer generators and independent power producers, will only be fully realized if important issues relating to the renewable energy pricing and capacity limits are addressed. For this reason, the NERC decided to undertake studies for capacity limits and establishing rates for renewable energy for St. Lucia. Mindful of our resource constraints, we approached several multilateral and external governmental institutions, including the Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI, and CARICOM for the Technical Assistance Program for Sustainable Energy in the Caribbean, TAPSEC, for assistance.
The NERC falls under the portfolio of Honorable Stephenson King, Senior Minister for Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal. The consultation, he said, is expected to pave the way for the creation of a framework where the prosumer and the utility can coexist in a form of symbiosis.
The inclusion of indigenous renewable energy sources for the generation of electricity creates the opportunity to lessen this dependence and allow for an electricity mix that offers a measure of cost reduction while moving closer to the goal of energy independence. The National Energy Transition Strategy, NETS, presents the roadmap leading to electricity independence while achieving a service which is affordable to the lowest of income earners and a reliable electricity service through an energy mix of wind and solar, with geothermal, when found viable, as a firm base supplemented by diesel.
Christine Deason, the Caribbean representative for the Global Green Growth Institute, commended St. Lucia for its ambitious goals related to climate change, in particular, the nationally determined goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the energy sector by 7% by 2030.
I don't think anyone here will disagree with me on the importance of having the right policy and regulatory frameworks in place to facilitate this transition to renewable energy. This is what creates the structure that will incentivize utilities, private companies, governments, and investors to invest in and install renewables by making it easy, low risk, and financially attractive to do so, and ensuring that adoption of renewable energy will happen in an orderly and economically and technically stable manner.
Yes, I think the discussion we've had so far is rich, and the comments have been very insightful.
The consultation focused on determining the optimum capacity limit for solar PV generation, which is currently set at 5 kilowatts for residential and 25 kilowatts for commercial customers. Chief Executive Officer at the NERC, Alison Jean, said the second element relates to price methodology for renewable energy, as the current net metering method is unsustainable and does not take into account the maintenance cost of the grid.
The comments from our stakeholders will be submitted to the Government of Saint Lucia for possible incorporation into the impending electricity legislation. We're hoping that that legislation can be enacted very, very soon so that we can see a greater injection of renewable energy onto our electric grid.
Senior Energy Regulatory Analyst at GGGI, Andrew Lewis, facilitated the consultation. He has been working closely with the NERC for the past year and a half on capacity building and technical support on various aspects of renewable energy regulations. Glenn Simon reporting.
A number of households will be afforded energy-efficient light bulbs in a collaborative venture between the Ministry of Equity and the Ministry of Infrastructure. The key target group to benefit from the donation are households on public assistance as government rolls out more interventions to support vulnerable citizens.
The Energy and Public Utilities Division of the Ministry of Infrastructure, in conjunction with the Secretariat of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, has provided the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment with 2,000 energy-saving light bulbs for distribution to 650 vulnerable households that are registered on government's public assistance program.
At the Ministry of Equity, what we have witnessed is a rapid increase since COVID-19 of demands from all of our various areas where we offer social services. And sadly to report, we are not in a better place to respond to those increased demands with the amount of resources allotted to us. The utility bills are among the most inadequacy that these vulnerable groups experience on a day-to-day.
Through the aegis of several international development partners, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal is implementing the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. The project brings together several key players like the World Bank, the Climate Investment Fund, the UK Foreign Commonwealth Development Office and the Canadian Clean Energy and Forest Carbon Facility, which all bring to the table their unique experience and expertise in the renewable energy sector.
Energy really represents a significant operating cost for the public service, for the residential sector, and for the businesses. And we see so many opportunities for us in this region, given that we are blessed with natural resources such as solar, geothermal, and given that when you look at how we actually operate, how we use our energy, there's still quite a bit of wastage. There's still a large opportunity for us to become more energy efficient, and for this to really help us to realize energy savings and ultimately financial savings.
The project's unique design reflects St. Lucia's ambition to transform its energy sector for a long-lasting positive impact on its people. The initiative will address the gender gap and also the poor and indigent in the energy sector, and through a partnership with the Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment, will reach out to vulnerable households and communities throughout the island.
Using the energy efficient devices so that the LED light bulb, the poor and the vulnerable can contribute to that global thrust. And what we need them to do is to reduce the energy intensity and to reduce the consumption. So we definitely want to encourage them to use those devices. We want to encourage them to get their homes retrofitted.
In the long term, the benefits to St. Lucia will include lower electricity bills for consumers, increased economic competitiveness and job creation, as well as energy resilience and independence. At 44 cents per kilowatt, electricity prices in St. Lucia is among the highest in the world, with the average family on island paying 3 times more to power their home than other countries like the United States. The high cost of electricity, exacerbated by the dependency on expensive imported petroleum products, also has a serious negative impact on the island's competitiveness and growth, as it contributes to the high cost of doing business and deepens the country's financial vulnerability. The current energy crisis, coupled with the mounting pressure of climate change, only further exacerbates existing fragilities.
Coming up in the recap, 2023 is the year of the youth. And the best year for St. Lucia in sport with an 8-medal haul at Carifta. We will be right back.
Did you know that Millennium Heights Medical Complex is a medical training center? We have a clinical education unit right here at the complex, which continuously provides training for both medical and non-medical staff based on research and routine quality assessments. The clinical education unit is made up of highly experienced and educated professionals who are certified to deliver trainings that are accredited internationally. Our clinical education unit delivers American Heart Association AHA certifications. Millennium Heights Medical Complex is officially the only AHA training center in St. Lucia as of 2022 and one of few in the Caribbean. We invite healthcare professionals from all over the island to benefit from certifications in advanced cardiac life support, ACLS, basic life support, BLS, heart saver AED, CPR, and family and friends. The work of the clinical education team and the quality department helps us to maintain international standards in our services and to keep up to date with methods, trends, and techniques. Call MHMC at 458-6500 or 458-6700, or you could email information at mhmc.lc for more. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for updates at Millennium Heights Medical Complex and on Instagram at Millennium Heights Medical. To call the National Suicide Helpline, dial 203 free of charge.
The Ministry of Agriculture is engaging key stakeholders, farmers, in the management and use of fertilizers for the promotion of sustainable environmental practices and improved yields.
St. Lucian farmers are being trained to optimize soil fertility and improve crop yields through a collaborative program between the Ministry of Agriculture and the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, with an overall aim of increasing awareness of the potential environmental impacts of fertilizer use and providing knowledge on how to mitigate these impacts. The 5-day training being delivered by a team of USAID experts with assistance from the Agriculture Ministry's Extension Division emphasizes the importance of soil fertility and nutrient management and promotes the appropriate use of fertilizers and biofertilizers, whilst also providing guidance on proper application rates, timing and placement. Director of Agricultural Services Dr. Aurea King-Snack stressed on the crucial role of healthy soil in promoting sustainable agriculture in St. Lucia.
Soil quality is directly linked to food quality and quantity. And me, with a background of One Health, I always like to push this agenda forward to show the interrelationship between our environment, our agricultural health, our human health, and our plant and animal health. For the past 3 years, the agricultural sector has been placed under a great deal of strain from natural disasters, unfavorable climate conditions, the famous COVID-19, and most recently increased cost of production as a result of increased cost of inputs. This training could not come at a better time, as our officers, our producers, and other stakeholders in the sector need to find alternatives to mitigate against the high cost and inconsistencies in the availability of our inputs.
Deputy Chief of Mission of the U.S. Embassy in Bridgetown, Barbados, David Schneer, says similar partnerships will be pursued in order to achieve long-term food security. He believes that by fostering such collaborations, it creates a possibility for a more sustainable and resilient agriculture sector.
It costs more money in this region to secure a healthy meal than in any other part of the world, and it's this situation that we're trying to address today. We must fix the deep vulnerabilities in our food systems. We need to make more inclusive, sustainable choices to ensure that we can deliver and promote the well-being of our citizens here in all countries in the region. So, I'm pleased to note we have a strong and growing partnership with the government and the people of St. Lucia, and this is to say this is just the start. USAID, the U.S. government, is committed to improving food security in the region. We're currently working to develop new programs that will be part of this medium long-term strategy that will help to mitigate increased poverty, food insecurity, and malnutrition.
The collaboration between the Ministry of Agriculture and the U.S. Aid to promote sustainable agriculture and soil health in St. Lucia is a strategic initiative towards achieving long-term food security, environmental sustainability, and economic growth in the region. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
In more news in agriculture, students of the Babano Secondary School are being supported in pursuing opportunities in the agro-processing industry. An exercise to teach the students about the technique of dehydrating fruits is being seen as incredibly useful to open up paths to sustainable livelihoods and promote food security. Dehydration of fruits is a valuable method for preserving fruits, making them last longer and increasing their value. Moreover, dehydration of fruits is an environmentally friendly preservation method, making it a useful and sustainable socially responsible career path.
With the goal of addressing the critical concerns of food security and waste reduction of locally grown produce, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Taiwan Technical Mission, through the enhancement of the efficiency of the production, distribution, supply chain of the fruit and vegetable sector project, more commonly known as the 7 Crops Project, hosted a training session on dehydration of local produce for students of the Babano Secondary School. The training session focused on various aspects of agro-processing, including the production of candied fruits and vegetables. Students were provided with hands-on training and practical demonstrations to equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge to produce high-quality processed foods. According to the project coordinator of the 7 Crops Project, Adeline Yudovic, the training session holds significant importance in the project's efforts to improve the supply chain for local fruits and vegetables. She says that given the escalating demand for food and the necessity to minimize waste, St. Lucia's agriculture industry must adopt inventive and sustainable approaches to ensure food security.
Right now we are in the second phase of the 7 Crops Project. And in the first phase, we realized that there's some areas of shortcomings where we had to expand and extend assistance to the farmers to actualize their full potential from the crops that they have on the farms. An area that we see that was absolutely necessary was agro-processing, or is agro-processing. So today we have the second round in agro-processing training for these, today is the schools. Last week it was the women cluster, Babano Women Cluster, and the next training will be for the Miku Women Cluster. We are targeting these clusters because they already have the equipment and certain know-how in agro-processing. So what we are doing here is to build the capacity in putting value added to the crops that are already available and crops that go to waste.
The facilitator of the training session attached to the Taiwan Technical Mission, Gary Wu, expressed his contentment with the students' level of interest and receptiveness during the training. He further emphasized that the knowledge and skills gained by the students could serve as an inspiration for them to pursue careers in the agro-processing industry.
So for today's lessons, I teach them about the dehydration techniques. It's a very common technique that we always use in food processing, because it helps us help the product to extend its shelf life. It's better. It gives it the better preservations by removing the water from the fruit. I think the students can learn something, can learn some very useful idea and techniques from these lessons. And actually, dehydration can be done in a very simple way, like the sun dry or the oven dry. So even though they don't have the very professional machines that the industrial use dehydrator, they can still perform the dehydration techniques in-house.
The collaboration between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Taiwan Technical Mission showcases the government's unwavering dedication to promoting sustainable agricultural practices and attaining food security objectives in St. Lucia. Empowering the upcoming generation of farmers and entrepreneurs with the essential skills and knowledge to produce high-quality processed fruits and vegetables establishes the groundwork for a more sustainable agriculture sector in St. Lucia. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Commonwealth heads of government have designated 2023 the Year of the Youth. Activities to mark the observance opened in April to coincide with Youth Month. Youth Month was observed under the theme Empowering Young People for Peace, Unity and a Safer Society. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is collaborating with the National Youth Council and other international agencies to foster positive engagement among the island's youth population. Minister for Youth Development and Sports, Honorable Kenson Casimir, highlighted the significance of promoting and supporting youth as positive agents of peace.
I must say that as the Minister for Youth Development and Sports, I am indeed very pleased that the ministry has taken the position that to commence Youth Month, that we do it with praise and worship. This is because we know that with everything happening in our great nation, our young people need prayers. We all need prayers, but we know specifically with what we are going through, our young people need prayers. And I'm very happy that we've chosen the theme, Empowering Our Youth for Peace, Unity, and a Safer Society. We know all too well that for us to have peace, that individually we need inner peace. And for us to have individual peace, we need to ensure that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior and the rock on which we stand. Because we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. And we truly need a nation that loves God and understands that each and every one of us are truly called according to His purpose. And each and every young person has a purpose within them that needs to be manifested. And so, today, as a Minister for Youth Development and Sports, I want to make this a carry-on call for all youth of this nation to spend some time this month in deep prayer, in worship, and most of all, spend some time reading the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because it is very important that we make this the basis for which we develop, not just as young people, but as a nation. It is only then we can truly see our country develop in the direction that we want it to develop. I know we've seen the RSS, the police on the ground, we've seen and we've heard some of the talk. We've discussed so many ideas on how it is that we can arrest the situation of crime in St. Lucia. But I must say to everybody who can hear my voice that the number one person or the number one entity that could do anything about our great nation is our Lord and our Savior. And so we must all take some time this month and for the rest of the year to really search ourselves, work out our own salvation, fear and trembling, and decide that everything that we do is towards the benefit of our next generation and the development of St. Lucia. And so, CARICOM has designated, Commonwealth has designated 2023 as the International Year of the Youth. And so this year, we're going to celebrate the youth through song, through dance, and we're going to meet them where they are. As a government, I am proud to say that we are committed towards the fight for development of our young people.
In a spectacular showcase for youth sporting prowess, secondary schools from across the island descended on the Super Mini Stadium for inter-secondary school sports under its new name, Island Champs. The Viewport Comprehensive Secondary School would dominate the competition, being crowned Island Champs in a keenly contested competition. We have that story.
Island Champs 2023 turned out successfully at the Sufre Mini Stadium last Friday, with officials and athletes expressing satisfaction with the conduct of the event. Meet Director Wayne Benty observed that competitors achieved a number of personal bests and that the events ran smoothly when the action got underway.
We see some athletes, doing their personal best, moving forward to the other events, and just a smooth transition from one event to the other has made it sort of a success thus far. Coaches have to ensure that the athletes are ready, ensure that they get to the call room, ensure that they are, fit for the event that they are participating.
Two of the successful athletes on the track will be heading to this weekend's Carifta Games in the Bahamas. Kajini Pilgrim is one of them, following victories in the 100 and 200 meters.
I've been training very hard to prepare for next week. You know, I need to work on my block stats. My first 40 meters is not that good. I always come out like last in the blocks, and I think I have to better that because if I get someone faster than me, I wouldn't catch him. So I need to work on that ASAP.
Naomi London of the VF4 Comprehensive predictably outclassed her field.
Today, I ran the 1 and the 200 meters. I think I'm very prepared for Carifta. I executed both of my races as planned. I mean, I'm going out there and just do my best. My preparation for this week is basically light work. Just focus on my leg technique, my leg drills, and just go out there. I will not follow the same preparation. I mean, that's my second year, so I learned from my mistakes. I mean, I came back, faced the challenges that I had, and just went back there strong.
Students from the various participating schools turned out in large numbers to spur on the respective athletes on the track and in the field. From the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I'm Ryan O'Brien.
Congratulations to Viewford and all the amazing athletes at Island Champs. Saint Lucia recorded its highest ever medal total at the recently concluded 2023 Carifta Games in Nassau, Bahamas. Naya Jules, a student of the Saint Lucia Sports Academy, took gold in the first ever women's pole vault and silver in the under-17 girls javelin throw with a personal best mark of 42.95 meters. Naomi London of the Viewford Comprehensive School got Saint Lucia's first medals in the 100 and 200 meters, taking silver in both events in the under-17 girls division. Denzel Phillips, who attends a Jamaica College, was also a double medalist in the under-17 boys discus and shot put. His was the first medal for Saint Lucia in discus throw. Jeremiah Felix repeated as men's open pole vault silver medalist, and Joy Edward, who is pursuing a bachelor's degree at the Troy University in the United States, got bronze in the under-20 women's shot put. The 8-medal haul represented Saint Lucia's highest medal total ever. The athletes returned home to a hero's welcome.
After enjoying St. Lucia's most successful outing in terms of medal count with 8 total medals in the Bahamas, the team is brimming with confidence. Double silver sprint medalist Naomi London says she wants to be an inspiration to young athletes.
We need to nurture our athletes. I mean, we can do it. There's so many more little kids who will wish that they have a medal on their neck from Carifta. So I think as a young athlete, I will inspire the rest, and we will come together just to form a larger group next year for Carifta.
For the first time ever, St. Lucia secured medals in every division, and St. Lucian athletes climbed the medal rostrum in every event group in which they were entered. The national team was cheered on by tens of thousands watching live on TV and online, glued to the exploits of the island's champions, who rewarded parents, fans, friends, and fellow citizens with the best performance ever by athletes from the Helen of the West.
The greatest moment at these games was to hear the commentators. I remember last year it was about the DVI, but this year it was about St. Lucia, St. Lucia, St. Lucia. So I think that we went out there and we actually gave a very good account of ourselves. It just goes to show that we have the ability. Our size does not matter. It's about our commitments and be willing to go out there and perform. And we did this, we executed well, and so I can only imagine what is yet to come.
The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, along with the St. Lucia Athletics Association, have pledged to work more closely with one another in hopes of putting together a bigger, stronger team to head over to the Spice Island one year hence. In a bid for more podium appearances, the intention is to find more opportunities for young athletes to compete on the regional stage, the better to prepare them for the Carifta Games.
We have to do a number of things. Firstly, we have to ensure that the facilities are up to par, they are game ready, and they are well maintained. Secondly, we have to ensure that there is sustainable programming. We need to ensure that our coaches are well trained, they are at the highest level, because there is a direct relationship between the quality of coaches and the quality of athletes that they put forward. So we will continue to work with our athletes. As I indicated, we are going to work assiduously with the Athletics Association to ensure that the programming is in sync with ours. We've invested heavily in a Cuban specialist coach who, like I said, is based in Soufrière, and there's a reason for that. There's a track facility at the mini stadium. We are hoping to attract as many athletes as possible. Also, what we are going to do is to ensure that our athletes compete more in regional and international games.
Looking at how we can have them also participate in more regional meets. Of course, the local meets that we have here, and to ensure that these other international meets, that our athletes get an opportunity to represent their country, represent themselves, to improve themselves, and to showcase themselves to the world and St. Lucia as well. Because at the end of the day, they are our ambassadors, and they've been putting in the work, and so we have to ensure that we get them the opportunities.
Whilst all stakeholders are celebrating this year's 8 medal haul, they are also already turning their attention to the question of how to build on the historic success enjoyed in the Bahamas. From the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I am Denise Florenville.
This is how we come to the end of St. Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up. Huge thank you to all who contributed to the production of this program, the National Television Network, GIS team, and the communication officers in the various ministries. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us next month for another episode of St. Lucia Magazine on NTN Channel 122 and our social media pages of the Government of Saint Lucia. Until next time, Kendall Eugene, so long.
It's time for St. Lucia Magazine, your monthly wrap-up.